Thanks everyone for being here. My name is Justin Dujardin. I'm one of the account executives here at Revelwood, and I'm here with my colleague Dominic, who is our senior pre-sales solutions consultant, who will be showing you the overview demo of adaptive planning here just in a few minutes. I just want to take a few minutes to give you an idea of what to expect out of today's webinar, and I see even more people are piling in here. If you're here for the Workday Adaptive Planning webinar, you are in the right place. So firstly, some background on Revelwood. For those who aren't familiar, we are a platinum business partner of Workday. And what that means is that we are part of a select group of partners that help you evaluate and implement adaptive planning. A couple of quick notes. We should be finished in 45 minutes or less. During that time, everyone is on mute. But if you have a question, there is a Q&A button down at the bottom. So please enter any questions you have there. We definitely encourage that, and we will try our best to get to it. And if we can't get to it, we'll make sure to follow up with you via email or some other way. We're aware that many of you may be here just out of pure curiosity. You want to learn, and some of you may have an actual active initiative to get into a cloud FP&A solution or improve your FP&A processes. Either way, we would greatly appreciate you taking 15 minutes with us in the next few days just to have a quick chat to see what your current challenges are, if you have any feedback from the webinar today, and whether there's any resources that we can follow up with. An important thing to know is that the demo today is meant to just really give you a glimpse into what adaptive planning can do, but this will certainly not cover everything, as it's a really powerful solution and it would take more time to get into everything that it can do. So I only have a few slides, but basically the reason we're here is that everyone needs to think differently these days when it comes to FP&A, especially in this day and age, and pun intended, it's important for organizations to stay highly adaptive, because the reality is that the pace of change is very quick in the year 2024 now. I can't believe it's 2024 already. And so it's important to not have a mission critical process such as FP&A and business-wide planning stuck in something like Excel, because the biggest challenge for most FP&A teams throughout an organization is primarily disconnected, manually intensive spreadsheets, which are preventing a more agile strategic approach to planning. And so adaptive is a place where you can do your modeling, your reporting, or your analytics, consolidations, data integrations with any data source all in one place. So everything that you need is all in one solution, and it acts as your central source of truth, if you will. And typically we're talking with finance teams, and of course we're pulling in the general ledger data, but adaptive can connect to really any data source, whether that be a CRM system or an HR system that you need it to, because at the end of the day, data is data, and you'll be able to bring all of that data together to plan on it with confidence and report on it with confidence. And so, as I mentioned before, we see finance as being the center orchestrator of the process, but with Workday Adaptive, you get a planning platform that supports your entire company. It enables not just power users or finance analysts, but everyone in the organization to participate. So it's not limited to the finance department, but every function at every level can plan to the details that they need, and you can seamlessly bring it together into a holistic company-wide business plan. And this slide gives you an idea of some of the areas that the business can model and plan using adaptive. So keep in mind, try to keep an open mind as Dominic is walking through the different types of sheets in the demo today, that adaptive is not going to put you into a straitjacket. Adaptive is purpose-built for your business. And as you'll see in a minute, it's across all industries because it's a very flexible solution. Now, adaptive does have a key competitive differentiation, which is this elastic hypercube technology. It's a patented technology, and we're not going to talk about specifics because that's not important, but we do bring it up because it is key and makes the solution scalable and able to have an unlimited number of dimensions, an unlimited number of versions, scenarios, while still being easy to use and maintain with no coding or assistance from IT needed, such as is the case with many competitive solutions and especially legacy solutions that require a lot of maintenance. And this is because all the data is in a single database, as opposed to legacy OLAP technology that many competitors use. And it also means that all of your data is always in real time, which is key for confidence and accuracy in your reporting. So that's why Adaptive has over 6,500 customers globally now. As you can see, this is across all industries. Certainly many customers that you would recognize from large enterprise, but this solution spans from small business all the way up to large enterprise because of its flexibility and ease of use. And finally, before I pass it to Dom to get into the solution, this is backed by Workday, which is a $7+ billion organization. Workday was ranked #1 on Fortune's Future 50 list, which includes companies like Tesla, Apple, and Google. So that's a really impressive stat there. They're reinvesting 35% of revenue back into their products. So this is something that will continue to improve and scale with your business. And Adaptive Planning specifically was able to get to 6,500+ customers by having a 97% customer retention rate, which is really pretty crazy if you think about it. It was ranked Gartner's Customer's Choice for 2023 for FP&A solutions. With that, I will pass it over to Dom.
All right, thanks, Justin. So my name is Dominic. I'm here to kind of give you a quick overview of the solution. Before we do that, just a little bit about myself. I come from the FP&A world, models and reporting packages in my time, understand all the frustrations and challenges around that. Our goal here is to kind of simplify, streamline the process in an environment that's not only flexible, scalable, but extremely very easy to use. So we'll start with the, application at a high level, meaning I'll log into the application. It is a cloud-based application. What does that mean? That means I can access it from pretty much any browser, any mobile devices. The benefit is that it's always accessible to be able to give you information at your fingertips. A lot of organizations, a lot of users love dashboarding, and that becomes kind of their favorite landing page, but we have the flexibility to kind of give you, if you want to get on or land on your favorite report, that's definitely fine. Nice thing about the dashboards are they can be developed for yourself, for the executive team, for the finance organization. As you can see, there's different metrics here. And what's nice about them is that even though you're starting at the high level, you can easily drill down on some of the details. So if you want to see, revenue by product or even by customer location, it's just a simple click. So we can pretty much define and bring in all types of information, from financial information, looking at, top level information from targets versus actuals, which are very popular, scorecards, production data, sales information. The sky is really the limit, but in essence, you can configure this any way you want. Another popular area is just bringing in the KPIs, or key performance indicators and metrics. Obviously, each individual industry has their own unique KPIs, but the benefit is that you can see, how the business is doing. You can make, strategic decisions. You can model this a lot of different ways. A couple things I want to just introduce real quick is the organizational level hierarchy, right? Why is that valuable? Number one of the key benefits is that we're able to consolidate a lot of different departments, locations. A lot of Excel models I worked with in the past, got to have one for each department. If you got 20 departments, you got 20 tabs, you got lookup tables, you got summary tabs. This hierarchy is able to consolidate all that information, and you can have the flexibility to configure it any way you want. This one happens to be by sales territories, but you can also have multiple companies that have different ownerships. It's very common to have a lot of different entities. If you acquire a new entity, you can easily add that when in the hierarchy. Secondly, it's also beneficial to have it as a way to apply security. So if I got access to operations or one department, we give them access to that specific level. So very, very popular, but very foundational, very important to design that upfront. Couple other quick topics that are valuable. Number one is data, right? How do we get data into the system? We'll start with actuals, but actuals comes in an automated fashion, very popular to connect to the general ledger, and we're agnostic to different systems. We can bring that in, automate that. If you want to run it on demand, you can do it, but typically scheduling that at 3 o'clock in the morning is very popular. If you want to do that more often during the close process, no problem. We can also update the data through an Excel flat file. So if you're just needing information, maybe on once a month, like payroll data, we can provide that option. So, but at the end of the day, it's very flexible. You can automate the data in the actuals. And we have the ability to create unlimited scenarios. So, if you've got a board approved budget, we can bring that in, lock it down. Or if you're working on your current working budget, that's fine. As you collaborate and push this out to many stakeholders, interacting with it and consolidating all that data is kind of the key benefit, right? So it's all that data manipulation that takes a lot of time, it can be streamlined significantly. Other examples of forecasts, I think the true value is being able to do more forecasting, whether it's top down, bottoms up, driver base. We've also got machine learning, artificial intelligence that help you do some predictive values. It's just becoming a trend in the industry, as well as what if scenarios. If you want to model a new product line or a new acquisition, compare them to your actuals, to your forecast. It's really up to you. So again, a lot of flexibility around being able to plan the way you need to within the application. Just going to bring up another quick dashboard to kind of highlight as we talk about machine learning and predictive capabilities. So we're moving to giving you that flexibility to create forecasts and using some of the predictive drivers. And ultimately, you want to get down to some kind of final product to help you do machine learning forecasts, or you may have a forecast to compare to your budget actuals in a report. We're able to kind of provide some of those anomaly detections, again, moving more advanced into the industry to give you flexibility to have more planning and budgeting options to get to your decision making. And one last thing before we get into kind of the basics around budgeting. This dashboard here, which I'll bring up next, is called a sensitivity analysis. So that means is we're able to interact with the data right on the dashboard. So in this example here, I've got some seasonality, by product. If I think that, my sales are going to be maybe improved for this particular product, I can make kind of a top-down adjustment. And with that simple entry, as I save this, it ripples through and saves all the data in my dashboards, updated all the reports, and every information that's associated with that driver gets updated. So interacting with it in real time right on the dashboard is what we call more active dashboards, but it's also very popular as well. Switching gears a little bit, I'm going to introduce you to what we call sheets. They're like templates, and we'll look at a high-level one first. This is a P&L. Again, what you're looking at is a high-level P&L. We've got various accounts in this example. We've got revenue, cost of goods sold, expenses. We've got actuals in 23 in green. We've got budget data in 24. And some of these are grayed out on purpose or being calculated. Some of these are, white cells telling us that you can make adjustments or data entry to them. Following the line of the hierarchy, I'm right now looking at one specific department, the Sales North department. But if you've got access to total organization, you can see a total P&L. You can see P&L by department. One nice thing about this is that we can flip-flop this view, which becomes very popular. So give you more of a top-down view of revenue. In this example, I'm looking at one revenue account across my entire organization. So how are we selling revenue for that particular product across the organization. So a lot of flexibility around manipulating and slicing and looking at information in a different perspective. But users have the ability to, have full balance sheet and cash flow as well. Next, I'm going to get into some end user basics. So right now we're looking again the same template. So you can have one expense template for the entire organization. So no more shipping them around, emails, making changes, shipping them back to the collator, updating that. You can organize this and push this as a full workflow capability as well. So if you work within this and you're done with your budget, you can submit it up through the approval process, and the approver can come to and approve that. But at this point, I'm looking at expense template. We've got salaries and wages, which we plan headcount in a different area in greater detail. We can take a look at that in a second. But what's nice about this is, again, fundamentally, you drill into these numbers. And in this example, I'm drilling into salaries and expenses for the month for my department, but I still get the granular details of all the employees that make up that expense. So I have 5 employees that make up that expense. Keeping in mind the security still applies. We can apply a role to the department owner that may or may not be able to drill into these numbers. It's very flexible. If I want to get data into the system, I could just enter data right into, I'll just pick one GLO account here. You notice I entered $15,000 for January of 24. It changes the blue, so I get to see its impact and some basic functions, be able to copy this down. Great, right? Nothing fancy there. I'm copying that value down all the way down to end of the time. I can also grow this number if I wanted to maybe increase it by 5%, or I can increase it by a certain nominal value, right? So if I'm analyzing my budget for this account, I can look at it, but I notice that I have a limitation on the maximum value. Let's just say maybe I have been giving a mandate to only budget up to 200,000, I can enter that value at the total. I can break that back proportionately. So it's going to smooth it out based on the trend of the numbers there. This one's very popular if you've got seasonality in your business. You can break that back, and it's going to take last year's actuals and smooth that out, as well as some other common functions. Or you can even create your own custom-defined assumptions or drivers. So we'll break this back based on kind of the trend of prior years. You notice that when I did that, there's only 2 months of actuals. So it's going to smooth that 200,000 back based on the 2 months of activity for prior year. And another popular function for end users is being able to split things out or plan at a granular detail. And it could be by, this example, I've got maintenance account. I can split this out. So assume I wanted to plan a certain value in terms of total, right? So in this case here, I want to plan $65,000. It's a kind of an anomaly, and you wanted to document why. You can, do things like add a note, but you can also split this out, and you can see it doesn't break the natural count. So it's a little bit higher than the rest of the year, but instead of, asking those why questions, the approver can come in here and you can explain why. Very popular to see, like vendors or different types of detail around. It doesn't have to be for this GL account. It could be for a different GL account for a different user. So each individual user have their own respective, requirements. So that way it's they can do it in a different general ledger account versus this department owner. Also, if you notice, this one is being documented by a little red triangle on the upper right, which is a note. Oftentimes, if there's a notation that you want to put, one great benefit is that it flows over as the reports. It looks similar to Excel notes, but you'll see this a little bit later on in reporting. As well as I drill into this number, we've got full audit trail capabilities. So you can see, what the number, old versus new values, who made that change, the date of the change. We can run a search or report off of the audit trail if you wanted to see, what changes happened for a specific user or a specific time frame, even a specific GL account. So a lot of very robust capabilities around being able to provide end users a simpler way to help them with their budgeting forecasting process. Going to switch gears and kind of provide another aspect of planning. So we're looking at expenses. So in this example, we're going to look at planning headcount. So let me explain this a little bit at a high level. You can plan headcount at the individual level. You can plan it at the roles. As a best practice, most organizations will upload all their initial employee roster from their payroll system. Whether you determine that's something you want to automate or just manually upload, that's up to you. Most often, you're doing this less often as from a general ledger actuals, you're doing this maybe once a month. It's a good candidate just going to upload it through an Excel flat file. Then from there, the design of this is also up to each organization. But in this example, I've got name, title, start, end dates, obviously health benefits, raises are being driven by assumptions, and we'll look at some of that in a little bit. And then from there, once you get the initial employee roster and you want to plan a new hire, you can just add additional row and just populate. So for example, I wanted to potentially plan for a new consultant for they work in Texas. So when you select these variables and assumptions, they're going to be calculating the taxes for you, right? The benefit plan is going to be driven based on the plan that you select. You can have employees that are full-time employees. If they're temporary employees, you can have start end dates, commissions. Really, the sky is the limit. So in essence, each individual department owner will go through and plan this at their department level. And if I have access to a total organization, I can see all the employees, but this is only specific to my department. And if you want to see what's being calculated, you can just see the details behind all the calculations, all the FUTA, Medicare, taxes, 401k, all those are being calculated for that particular employee. And these get linked back up to that expense summary or P&L that we looked at earlier. So that way you can see the detail by employee, but also you get to see the summary at your department level. To kind of tie this together, this is a personnel assumptions at the global level. So what that means is, in this example, you can give the entire organization a raise, more of a global assumption. If you give them a raise of X%, just type it in, save it. It goes and it calculates the entire organization based on that global driver. But all assumptions, we have other examples and many different ones from sales drivers, financial assumptions. This one is just about those benefits that we had selected at the department level. This is what's driving those costs, and we've got it across the United States. You may have different rates for assumptions for Canada or United Kingdom. But what's nice is that assumptions are controlled at the global level, but they can get down to more details if you need to. We've got a whole list of other examples, probably not going to everyone, but we'll bring up kind of one example around revenue. So as you can see, there's a lot of different examples, but one of them being revenue, which is a little bit different view, more of a multi-dimensional analytical view. What's great about this is that, again, we can design it pretty much any way you want. It's just one example. We're looking at the various organizations and departments. But if you notice that now we've got customer, product, dimensionality, right? So getting down to more granular, even what we call attributes or descriptions of a specific product or size and color of the products. And we're only planning at how many units we're selling. So obviously we have many different industries we work with, from services that might be number of hours, so a lot of examples. So what's nice is that we can now just plan the number of units for this customer, this product. We've got prices and discounts driving revenue, driving costs. So what's nice about this is if you want to see revenue by product, you're just slicing and dicing this information. So you can see very quickly, I can get a multi-dimensional view of all my revenue now. I'm looking at gross revenue, right? by the products, or it could be by customer. So it's really up to you. It gives that analyst that ability to answer those why questions quickly, because if somebody's asking you, how are we doing from a gross revenue perspective across the products, and you tell me which one's driving the most revenue, it's easy to see. In the last few, probably 5-10 minutes here, I want to kind of switch gears and bring up some reports. And reports are really the end of the road, right? At the end, as you go through the budgeting forecasting process, being able to, build reports, being able to self-serve yourself is kind of one of the fundamental values of the platform, is that there's a lot of reporting tools out there, but just the ability to do it yourself and self-serve is kind of the key hallmark of the value of the application, right? So it's not an IT, centric application. It's owned by finance, and it's very easy to use. Before we get into some of that, you're looking at this variance report. We're looking at it at the total company. We've got certain time. We've got actual versus budget. We've got some variance filters. But one nice thing is that I noticed, I mentioned earlier that those notes that we entered in the budgeting process, they flow over the reports. You can see them in line. So the collaboration that happens by having them helps you, saves you a lot of time around, asking questions on why things are happening. And then when you see something that's, that you need to drill into, it's very easy to drill into the information right on the report as well. We've got the ability to drill into the summary level detail, but if you notice, we've also got, on some occasions, if you want to justify or see something of the transactional level detail on why an expense is higher than normal, you can easily drill into the transactional level detail. Now, granted, you bring that information in on a case-by-case basis. You don't need to bring all of the transactional detail into every single GL account, but travel entertainment in this example is a very common one to kind of justify it. So this report, what's nice is that it's just drag and drop. There's no coding or scripting. So this is kind of the designer, and I'm playing around with this. And if I wanted to add additional metrics, so very simple to drag and drop, what I have available, and kind of seeing, what that might look like as you run the report. And that's kind of the benefit. Just drag and drop technology. There's no extra scripting involved, and again, very, very popular to build these reports because it's extremely easy to use. Some other examples, I may just kind of bring up a scenario analysis report, because a lot of times you've got the unlimited scenarios. You're being able to look at my baseline scenario versus my best case, worst case, so that way you can model different, kind of see what the impact is, to the P&L, to net income across the various scenarios over time, right? So again, this is just a very, simple example, but you've got full flexibility to create all types of reports that are beneficial, right? Whether it's down to the product level, a rolling forecast report, maybe even like, a product level report down to the certain groups and sizes and colors here, so over many time parameters. So just kind of give you kind of the art of the possible and all the different types of reporting we have. The last thing I want to kind of mention before we may open up for questions is a lot of organizations have a month-end reporting process. So as they finish the process, they have some kind of board book or some kind of month-end process that they're doing with Excel, Word, and PowerPoint. So what I'm going to bring up next is to show you how we can help streamline that process, right? Because a lot of times those processes take a long time, right? Oftentimes it's weeks, sometimes even months, or somebody's kind of developed it and spent a lot of time on that. So what I'm providing here is kind of an example of an Excel workbook, right? Oftentimes you spent many hours and weeks, and you come to us and say, I like the formatting. I want to use it. So what we can do is we can leverage that. So all these different types of things that are already developed, we can leverage that. So How do we do that, right? If you notice, some of the cells here are linked, so you don't necessarily have to link every single cell. You notice that when you come to it, it comes like this, and when we link it, the blue cells are what are linked. So how do we link that? So a good example might be, let's say I wanted to link the travel entertainment section. So this is kind of where I just drag and drop that. I want to link that and then hit the refresh button. So it's going to go and pull in the data. And again, it's going to update all the information for that travel and entertainment group. Great, right? Nothing fancy there. The true value is when you close the month, right? So if you're taking a long time, and let's say you close the month of April, I just have to move the time parameter to April, hit the refresh button, and my entire workbook, like all the charts and graphs, all the data, all this gets rolled forward for you automatically. You can save a significant amount of time. It's a very popular solution because a lot of people are spending too much time on data gathering techniques and data manipulation. Now you can switch that pendulum and just focus all your time on analysis. And this gets also rolled over to some kind of like board book. So again, all of this gets updated. All this data gets updated, right? If you've got variables in your paragraph, right? So you just have to worry about the verbiage. So we can update any dynamic variables that we have, like an increase, decrease, and revenue might be a variable that gets updated. And lastly, same scenario in terms of that click of a button will update the Word, PowerPoint, and Excel model. So you can present this to the internal executive team, external, banks, investors, boards, etc. So to summarize, this adaptive Office Connect allows us to streamline significantly and saves you time from the ability to just bring in all this information. All the mappings are going to get updated. That way you can spend all your time on analyzing the numbers and making strategic decisions. So with that, I'd like to kind of pass it back to the team. I want to keep it very high level and just summarize kind of what we looked at today. Adaptive Workday is a comprehensive solution that's very easy to use. We looked at dashboards. We looked at, different types of templates from high-level P&Ls to basic end-user functions, personnel planning, revenue planning, and ultimately all the different types of reporting. Again, we look forward to hearing more about your specific needs and maybe scheduling scheduling a more descriptive demo one-on-one with your organization.
Yeah, thanks, Dom. We really appreciate all of your time today. We do encourage you to learn more about Revelwood and our implementation approach and our experience by visiting our website at revelwood.com. While you're there, we also encourage you to visit our Knowledge Center, which offers tips and tricks about all aspects of the planning process, technical tips on adaptive, planning tips about the budgeting process, and other various things in all business aspects regarding to your modeling and planning. So we really appreciate it. Once again, either myself or one of our colleagues will be reaching out for a 15-minute follow-up call. Hopefully you will take the time to share some feedback with us. It goes a huge way for us and we tremendously appreciate it. So otherwise, let us know how we can help, and we look forward to talking to you soon. Thank you so much.